Mayweather didn't knock him out like everybody expected, but Mayweather put the beats on him. And at the end of the day, the man weighs 30 to 40 pounds more than Mayweather, and he's like about a good 7 inches taller than him. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Tyrone, Menelik, and Hollister. We didn't put out one last week. That's because it was my birthday last weekend, and we had a little vacation, little trip. Went out to Mexico, had a good time. We were down in Menelik, where he was there in spirit, and we took a little quick vacay, and we had a good time. But during that, they had a fight. And we all know what that fight was, Logan Paul versus Mayweather, but we'll talk about that in the next segment. But I wanted to just run through quickly. UFC 263 is tonight. Adesanya versus Vettori 2. So they're fighting again. They fought each other like 3 years ago. And Adesanya won that fight. But, Vettori felt he won that fight because it was kind of close. And he started putting up later on in the fight. So they got some nice history with each other, as well as a little animosity. We have my homie Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards. I feel happy for Leon Edwards, and it's an opportunity, a big name to help kind of catapult him. You know, he had 9 wins in a row, or 8 wins in a row, and he didn't get a title shot. He's like an unassuming kind of guy, but gets the job done. But now he has the opportunity, if he gets a big win over Nate Diaz, to fight for the belt against Kamaru Usman. Same thing goes for Nate Diaz. If Nate Diaz wins, he gets to get that opportunity as well. And we have Figueroa versus Maduro. I'm saying the name wrong, but whatever. This is a rematch from the fight that they had the last time. And everybody said that fight was crazy. They both went to the hospital. It was crazy. So out of those 3 fights, since we're going fast and already talking, I'm going to give my predictions, and I'm going to say. So I'm going with Adesanya in the main event. I think it might be a TKO, maybe the decision, but I think it's gonna be a TKO against Vettori. I'm going with Maduro against Figueroa. Even though I'm kind of still up in the air with that fight, but I'm gonna go with Maduro because we just came from Mexico and he's Mexican, so I give him the benefit of the doubt. And then the Leon Edwards, Nate Diaz, like I like Nate Diaz. Y'all know how I feel about the Diaz brothers. Man, like the same way, we love them. But I think Leon Edwards got some stuff for him. So I do see that one going to a decision. And I do think that Leon Edwards might get the nod, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nate wins. So that's my prediction. So we're gonna go Hollister, Menelik, and Tamo.
Right. So my predictions, the main event, I'm going with the champ, Izzy, of course. That's my guy. I can't not pick him no matter what. The Figueroa and I forgot the other guy named Moreau, something like that. I'm gonna go with the champ on that one because that guy is a beast. Both guys are beasts, but I'm gonna go with Figueroa on that one. And the Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz, I was going back and forth all week about it. I was leaning towards Nate Diaz, and then I found out Leon Edwards is on the winning streak, and he do have that momentum. So I'm gonna pick Leon Edwards on this one as well too. I like Nate Diaz as well too, but I'm gonna go with Leon Edwards, and whoever wins, like you say, get a title shot against Usman. Either way, like I like both guys, but they're gonna lose to Usman. But I got Leon Edwards on this one tonight.
All right. So yeah. So as far as Izzy and Vettori, like you were saying, they fought before. It was like a split decision, and since then both fighters have gotten a lot better. Obviously, Izzy is going on his tear and taking over the division, and Vettori he has I think a good 5 wins in a row or something like that. But I'm definitely going with Adesanya. I mean, as much as I think they both got better, I've seen more from Adesanya, and he's the champ, and he's been clearly ruling that division. So Vettori, no knock to him. He's a good fighter, but I'm going with Izzy. As far as the Figueroa, I'm going with him. So they also fought before, and I think it was a draw. And it was a good fight. I just feel like he, as the champ, he got that he has a little less pressure on him. But I also feel that just the way he's been performing lately, I'll give him the edge. But I definitely think that should be a pretty good and another close kind of fight. And then as far as Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz, like Michael said, love the Diaz brothers. Like Nate, he's always game, always ready to put on a show. But as we were speaking to, Leon Edwards is one of those guys, like Michael said, he's not the biggest name, and he doesn't do a lot of the antics that kind of, and some people think he fights boring, but he's a solid guy. He has a lot of wins in the division. He knows what he's doing. He has a good skill set, and he's a good wrestler. And Nate Diaz does have issues sometimes, wrestlers and stuff. I do think Nate has a chance if he could catch him with sun, or if Edwards decides to kind of box him a little bit more. But I feel like this fight will probably go to the decision, and Edwards will probably eke out that W.
The main event with Izzy and Vettori. I don't know who Vettori is, so I'm gonna pick Izzy because I know what he's done in the game already, and he's at his peak right now. Although he's coming off that loss when he moved up in weight, I'm still gonna go with him because he's still the king of this division. So I'm picking Izzy. Figueroa and Moreno. I was debating this one, but I'm gonna just go with my gut. I know a lot of Figueroa. I've seen quite a few of his matches, so I'm gonna go with him on this one. And I'm gonna go against you guys. I'm gonna go with some luck. I'm gonna give Nate Diaz some love. I'm gonna go pick him against Edwards because I know who he is, and I think in UFC anything can happen. So we've seen a lot of heavy favorites go down, and I see Edwards here as a big favorite right now for tonight's fight. But I'm gonna give the old line some love there and pick Nate Diaz in this one. So I'm gonna go Izzy, Figueroa, and Diaz.
Okay, all good picks. I mean, like, to be honest with you, like, there's no real loser unless it's Vettori. Like, I'm not hating on Vettori, but I'm really rooting for Izzy heavy. He did have a trainer partner who got killed. Well, got assaulted like with a sucker punch, and he ended up getting a coma and dying. Young guy. And not only because of that, because I feel that people sleeping on him because what happened with the Jan fight. Jan Mahovic is a light heavyweight dude who can wrestle and do his thing. And not for nothing, I know when Izzy fought him, like Malik mentioned earlier, when he fought him the first time, Izzy wasn't really strong in wrestling. Not to try to say he's like a supreme wrestler now, but he's been there, he's seen it. He fought a lot of other people aside from that. And Vettori, even though he won his last fight and he fought the Trailblazer, I don't know if you guys know Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland was actually putting some work on him and, standing up wise. And Kevin Holland, to me, is not even on the level of Israel. So I think Israel's going to come out, do his thing, and win. Figueroa, if he wins, I wouldn't be surprised. I know he said he was hurt the first fight, and that's why he had a draw. And sometimes, the other dude could be coming in a little extra confident because he said he had a draw with him. So he might get a little relaxed and get caught. So I'm just picking the other dude just off the strength of something being like unexpected. As far as the Nate Diaz thing, like, Nate Diaz is a fighter that he has moments where he come out there and he dominate, and he has moments where he like get caught. And my thing is that he fighting at 170, but he's really a 155er. And Leon Edwards is a legit 170, and his only other loss in the division was against the champ, Kamaru, and they went the distance. So to me, I feel that, like Malik pointed out, Leon Edwards is a well-rounded fighter, well-rounded fighter. He has wrestling. His jiu-jitsu ain't on the level of Nate, but he has jiu-jitsu. He has good striking. So to me, it's just a matter of like who wants it more and who is the on the night. So just be some good fighting.
That was real nice of you to now bring up the fact that he's a full-fledged 170 and Nate Diaz was coming up before I made my pick, Thanks for giving us that information after.
Nah. I mean, like no.
Nah,
Nate
so no.
in 170.
I'm
No. I know you're
sticking
messing
with my
around.
guy,
But
though.
no, I know you're messing around. But I'm just saying Nate fought at 170 before, but he's like a guy, like it's just like a Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor used to fight at 145, and he fought at 170 a couple of times. When you fighting these guys who like are big dudes, like I don't know if you guys remember, but Malik would know Anthony Rumble Johnson. He fought in heavyweight, he fought light heavyweight, and he used to fight at 170. And to the point that he got kicked out the UFC because he kept missing weight. And you see how big that dude is. So I'm saying that there's some dudes who cut a lot of weight to do that. And Nate probably walk around like 190, maybe 200, but he's always active. Him and his brother always doing like triathlons and stuff like that. So he's not a real 170er, but I guess he's more optimum as far as like he doesn't have to do a lot of weight cutting and he can fight at that weight. So we'll see what happens tonight. But it should be some good fights and I'm looking forward to it. Now, speaking of fighting, like we said last time, we was away, we was in Mexico, we was chilling. We had the Mayweather, thanks Hollister, and we had Mayweather versus Logan Paul. It all went as we expected, but they got some controversies on both sides. Some people saying that Logan won simply because he lasted, and most people who know boxing, who know combat sport, we know that Mayweather carried this fight, and he carried him. And, yes, Mayweather didn't knock him out like everybody expected, but Mayweather put the beats on him. And at the end of the day, the man weighs 30 to 40 pounds more than Mayweather. And he's like about a good 7 inches taller than him. So at the end of the day, Mayweather walked him down and washed him. So it was a good, entertaining fight. I'm glad we watched the fight the way we watched it. And we didn't put no money on that. At the end of the day, I wanted to get you guys' opinion on it. Let's start with Malik because we already kind of talked about it when we was out there. So let's go with Malik, Tyrone, and Hollister.
Yeah. So as far as that, Paul and Mayweather joint. Now, Mayweather won, like, and Paul ain't won. Like, I understand like that almost quote unquote moral victory that, he went in the ring with the greatest boxer of his generation and didn't get knocked out. He lasted the 8 rounds. Now, like you were pointing to, and I think LeBron might have said it, like, oh, it was almost like Mike Tyson punch out or something. Like the size difference and the weight difference can be a big deal. And look, I'm gonna give Logan some credit. Like, and even Mayweather said it. He is better than he thought he was gonna be, right? And Logan and Jake, I'm sure, they've been training with other professionals and they have some time in now, right? And they're all weight classes in boxing for a reason on some level. Now, granted, like I said, Mayweather clearly, if you look at the boxing acumen on display, was able to, pick him apart in certain moments. He landed more, he was more accurate. Mayweather performed better. He just didn't get that knockout like a lot of people wanted or was expecting. And like that weight definitely plays some factor. Then Mayweather is a little older and, he probably also wanted for the showmanship, to let it go longer for people to be entertained. And I mean, I know there's some controversy too, where it was like that moment where he kind of caught Logan and looked like Logan was going to fall over a little bit. And he was like, almost like he was holding him up or something like that. So, I mean, you never know. I do think it was some showmanship involved where it's like, yo, why am I kill myself as an exhibition and people will be more, they'll have more to watch, more to do. Granted, having a good kind of knockout would have been a big deal too. But at the end of the day, I think Mayweather obviously definitely won. Look, hats to Logan. He made some serious money and he got to test himself against one of the greatest boxers of his generation. It was no lose at all for him. And like Mayweather said, he a legal bank robber. Like he got his money. Everybody won overall for the most. The only thing I know some people were saying it might not have been a good look for boxing overall. But as far as the two participants, nobody lost, and Mayweather definitely won overall. That's my take.
Yeah, facts. Hollister? Did I say Hollister or Tom? Whatever. Whoever that said. All right.
So I don't know how anybody could think that looked about 10 million. Floyd made 10 million in the fight is going to go up to about 50 when everything's all said and done. So yes, you could say Logan Paul won because he went from a YouTuber
100.
to fighting Floyd Mayweather and becoming a millionaire, fighting an all-time great just by being on YouTube. But it went exactly how I thought it would. Floyd Mayweather is not known for power, especially if he's going to fight a guy that's 7 inches taller and 40 to 50 pounds heavier than him. So anybody that thinks that he was going to knock out Logan Paul doesn't know boxing. They don't know boxing. And that, like, it's like you said, there's weight classes for a reason. A welterweight, which is what Floyd fought at in boxing, which is at 147 pounds, it's not beating and not knocking out a heavyweight unless you sucker punch him. You ain't doing that to a heavyweight. I don't care how much of a boxer you've been your whole life. What boxing teaches you is skill and technique. Power, just because you are a boxer doesn't mean you have great power. So just because Floyd's a boxer doesn't necessarily mean he'll knock out the average Joe on the street just because he's a boxer. You know, he might be able to do it to a lot, but he can't do it to everybody. Just because you're a boxer doesn't mean you're gonna knock people out. So that's why I never thought that a knockout, if I was a betting man, I would not have betted on a knockout. Huh? No, I was saying
like there was. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was saying that oh, you lost me there for a second. Sorry.
My bad. You said about the knockouts, like stuff like that. Like everybody should not expect a knockout today.
Yeah, everybody expected a knockout, but you can't really think that at a guy that's 7 inches shorter and 40 pounds lighter to knock out a guy like that. I still can't get that thought back what I was getting ready to say, but I just wanted to say that it was exactly what I expected it to be, and you know, I'm not surprised by any result.
I agree with John Rosa. Like, it went exactly how I expected as well too. Like, I didn't expect no knockout. You know, this or that. People forget it's an exhibition fight. You know, there's certain rules and regulations they got to follow. And Mayweather was just, you know, pretty much toying with Logan. Like, he could have easily, you know, did some damage if he wanted to, but it's also too for the part of the entertainment. Like, all right, you know, these guys, all these promoters put up all this money. Mayweather getting, you know, the 50% or whatever percent of the pay-per-view buys, you know, Logan Paul getting his money. Yeah, give Logan Paul some credit. You know, he lasted 8 rounds, even though he did look very winded, but you gotta give him some credit. You know, he did what he had to do, even though he can, you know, even though it was no clear winner, but we all know that he was not winning that fight regardless. But, you know, it seems like he might have, you know, pretty much, he might have a career in boxing because he looked pretty decent. You know, he did, you know, he didn't catch Mayweather, but he ate, you know, a little bit of stuff. You know, Mayweather didn't use a lot of power, I'm sure, but you gotta give Logan Paul some credit. And Jake Paul over there talking about he won the fight and this and that. I get it. That's your brother. You're gonna defend him no matter what. But like we all know, he had no chance in hell of winning. Period. Even if it was like regular boxing rules, he had no chance of winning. But you gotta give credit where credit's due. Both guys did their thing. They both got paid. That's the main thing. You know, people that did the betting, you know, they won or whatever they won. But it's all good at the end of the day. Let's see
I
what
agree.
you know. Let's see what Jake Paul does when he fights Tyron Woodley and see what's next for Logan Paul.
I can't wait. But I agree with you 100%. We all knew what was going to happen. I did expect Mayweather to possibly knock him out because, you know, he's still a boxer. But at the end of the day, we have to be 100%. And, you know, we have to understand that these guys are athletes. These guys have been training boxing for years. So they've been in the fire. They're not on the level of Mayweather, but they understand how to take a punch. They've been hit, somewhat to a certain degree. But I do look at it from the perspective, like Malik said, is like Mayweather walks away from this fight with $100 million. Logan Paul guaranteed $250K and walks away with like about $20 million. So at the end of the day, these guys already been kind of set up already. And Logan Paul and Jake Paul, they millionaires already. They was millionaires off of YouTube. They're millionaires from before. Their parents were well off. So they already had money, but now they're having more money. And I do understand how some people who are in combat sports feel, because you look at these guys who haven't really invested the time and come from the bottom, like a lot of these other fighters, and they get in top dollar, whereas an MMA fighter is fighting and putting their like lives on the line. You always put your life on the line when you fight, but they putting like their lives and their careers on the line every night when they fight and compete, and they making a fraction as to what these guys made because of the fact that it's not about the skills really. It's about the freak show and what people will pay to see. Like you look at the old Coliseum days, people wanted to see the biggest gladiator fight a bear. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to see that. They wanted to see the biggest gladiator fight a lion. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to see the freak shows, and that's what's going on right here, and which is why Jake and Logan are making this killing right now because of the fact that look, they the freak show, and people want to see they get their head knocked off. So it is what it is. Mayweather, 44 years old, put that work in, did what he had to do. You know what I mean? Made it look easy, and did it. Now, to be honest, I give credit where credit is due. Jake Paul is a way better boxer than Logan. But you know, we'll see what happens when they fight, when they move forward. I know Logan was considering going into MMA because he really was a good wrestler. Like he was really good. And he actually wrestled Paul Acosta and was actually holding his own against him. And this is, you know, him and on that level before he was really like being active. So we'll see what happens. I think Bellator offered him a contract for MMA. So we'll see what happens if he really about that life. So switching gears to the NBA, as you guys know, the playoffs has been getting really entertaining. We have Brooklyn versus the Bucks. We have the Hawks versus the 76ers, the Jazz versus the Clippers, and the Nuggets versus the Suns. Right now, the Suns has a 3-0 against Nuggets. Jazz has 2-1. Oh no, Jazz is 2-0, right? Or 3-0. I think one of those.
2-0.
2-0, yeah. And then you got 76ers is 2-1 against the Hawks. And Brooklyn, unfortunately, is 2-1. We had a chance to win the game, but Bruce Brown wanted to be a hero. And the last time I checked, his number is 1, not 7. But yeah, we lost that game by a few points. And yeah, you know, the playoffs looking good. The Lakers are no longer with us. I'm glad that the Suns beat them. No disrespect to the Lakers, but I was getting tired of seeing the same old cats and the same old narrative and LeBron this and LeBron that and he's the savior and all this other crap. Okay, so I'm happy we have a little change of pace in regards to who's in the playoffs. So that's fun. But yeah, it's getting crazy. Y'all saw the game. PJ Tucker and Kevin Durant got a little chippy. And I didn't notice, but Kevin Durant's personal bodyguard, the bodyguard that the Brooklyn Nets kind of hired for him, he jumped on the court. Now he did his job. He's supposed to be protecting him, but now he get disciplined because they said you're not supposed to do that, etc. So I just want to touch base with you guys and what y'all feel about the playoffs so far. How do you guys feel about what's going on? You can talk about that KD situation. And yeah, we're going to go Hollister and Tyrone. Melik had to take care of something. He might join us again, but we'll take it from there. So go ahead, Hollister.
Yeah, so these players, especially the second round, is very entertaining. I'm loving every moment of it. It's so entertaining. I haven't been this entertaining in a long time. Like you get to see like young players, you know, hitting that superstar status, such as Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, you know, Trae Young's getting there. Jokic just got the MVP. Even though they're down 3-0, is like happy to see like a big win the MVP for the first time since Shaq. It's really entertaining. It's amazing to watch these series. You know, I did sleep on the Phoenix Suns early in the year. I was like, I don't think they're ready, but they're looking like they're about to hit the Western Conference Finals. And I would love to see those. I would love to see them play against Utah. And I would love for that to go 7. Devin Booker and the Donovan Mitchell going at it nonstop. That'd be incredible to watch. You know, you got Philly and Atlanta. You know, people didn't expect Atlanta to make it to the second round. I myself didn't expect them to do that. But, you know, it's good to see, you know, Trae Young coming into his own. You know, Giannis, we got Giannis in Brooklyn. You know, Giannis, you know, doing his thing. Chris Middleton, he's now putting in work, which he did that for me in fantasy, but it's all good. But, you know, and then we got, you know, Brooklyn doing anything hard and, you know, hopefully be back soon. Jeff Green may be back tomorrow. I think he's questionable for tomorrow. Everybody was talking about how Brooklyn's defense was, they don't play no defense, but that other game was looking like the NBA in the 90s was a very low scoring, game. But it's good to see, the whole change of pace and everything that's going on. I'm loving this whole second round right now. And, Brooklyn will, get there with Milwaukee, though. But I'm loving every moment so far.
You guys got to stop with this. Brooklyn's going to do this and Brooklyn's going to do that. Y'all need to get healthy first. You need to really stop that. Y'all got Bruce Brown taking over for James Harden. So you got to be careful with that. These playoffs are pretty good. Like in the East is turned out the way I thought it would, with Philly and Atlanta against each other, and then Brooklyn and Milwaukee. I still have Philly and Brooklyn going through, but hopefully we get a good series out of it, because out West there's not much of a series for these other teams. I think the Clippers still are in it if they can get through and win Game 3. So, and with the Phoenix Denver, unfortunately, it would have been real nice to see how this team would play, because they just got Will Barton back. It would have been real nice to see how it would look if Jamal Murray was playing. That series would be a whole lot better. That's a big loss for Denver, but it's basically over. You could just kiss them goodbye. It's unfortunate for Jokic on this MVP season, and the losses are ugly. They're not even like close. So you can see that the loss of Jamal Murray is big. So with the Clippers, I still think just because they fell 0-2 to Dallas at home, I still think they got a shot. And we're seeing stars like Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker just emerge. It's great to see it as a breath of fresh air. To see some young talent showing that, listen, we're not afraid of the big bad wolf anymore. Although I don't think people were really afraid of him. I just think more they just stepped aside and just parted the sea for the big bad wolf, and that being LeBron James and his team, the Los Angeles Lakers, being eliminated. I'll just talk about this one more time because I don't want to be like these other shows where they continually talk about them, even though they're gone and other teams are playing great. But LeBron, once AD got hurt again, he has tendencies to do things like this. I've seen it, where he will just, his body language isn't there. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't look aggressive. He doesn't play aggressive. And just a few games before that, he was making fun of Jay Crowder, and him and Andre Drummond was having a good time, making fun of him, and Crowder ended up with the last laugh while knocking him out. And he hit a lot of big shots against the Lakers in that game. But the Los Angeles Lakers, for those who think that it's going to be this big comeback next year, you got to remember the man's going to be 37. He's going to be in his 19th year. You got an injury-prone superstar that plays with him. You got a couple guys as free agents that may not come back. They have a lot of cap, a lot of money on their cap. So for people to think that he's just going to come around and just build another team with his general manager skills, and they're just going to walk back in and dominate the West or wherever, that they're wrong. Because these young teams are getting experience. Devin Booker's getting this playoff experience. It's helping them a lot. We already know how Donovan Mitchell is. Clippers are still going to be around. Dallas is coming up. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. And nobody's bowing down to him anymore. As you can see, they went at him. And they saw when he quit. He walked out of the arena 5 minutes left in one of the games. So we already know what he isn't. That G word. He isn't that. He never was that. So hopefully this could put it to rest, because I'm so sick of hearing everybody say it, because you never saw MJ do this. And that's all I got to say about him. I don't want to talk about him no more. I want to enjoy these young players in the playoffs still. And it's been fun.
Yeah, man, I agree. It's crazy because, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I just want to touch on it real quick. Like you said, to me, I feel that it's a breath of fresh air. The players are no longer looking at him as an invincible star, and I don't think they did. I just think that when you look at the odds are stacked against you. LeBron is a great player, we get it, but to me, the stuff he showed those last few games really showed how his leadership style is. To walk out on your team with 5 minutes left on the game to, pretty much allow the narrative that you don't have enough and everybody else is not playing up to par, to me, I think is a slap in the face to the teammates that you say you rally with and you down with. And my thing is that you can say what you want to say about Mike, but we watched it. We watched the last few games, like when Mike played with the flu to will his team to victory, when Mike played exhausted to make sure they win that game 6. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's what really being a GOAT is taking it to that level when everybody is out, everybody's panicking, everybody's feeling like, it's over. We just play game 7. Like, he's like, no, we're going to win this game tonight. I want to make sure we win this game. So I say that to say that. And I just want to say that real quick too, because I know Scottie Pippen coming out with a little book and talking about his extra stuff. And I'm like, Pippen got no right to say all that other stuff like that, what he quit on the team, he did and all that other stuff like that. But
not
go ahead.
Not to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
But these are little things. These are the reasons why I don't put him in my top 10. Let's think about it. You brought it up. Mike played without Scottie in one game 6 at 35 years old, willing a team. I remember, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't play. He was a rookie, went and played center, dropped 42 and 15, and won the championship against Dr. J in Philly. It was, star goes down, or when your star's not well, you raise to another level. You don't just, and it's just like you said, it's like he's giving people the narrative, oh, he needs help. This is the reason why he lost, because this guy didn't play. This was his chance to will that team without Anthony Davis. I don't want to hear the excuses about, oh, he didn't have AD, because Mike did it without Scottie before. Kobe did it in 2000 when Shaq fouled out against the Pacers, and he willed the Lakers to a win in overtime without Shaq. Now, granted, that was just an overtime that he didn't have Shaq, but the point is, his superstar wasn't there, and he took over. Magic Johnson's done it. I've seen a lot of greats done it. Tim Duncan has done it without David Robinson before, not really without him, but more like different versions of his friend of the team. He's won championships with different versions of the team, the Twin Tower version, the version where he was the superstar, the version where he was the role player. So, there's a lot of legends out there that when a certain player wasn't there, they feel that they took on the bigger role and competed and fought and won. This guy, he just likes to use excuses and
you breaking up.
Still carry that team. He can still carry that team to beat Phoenix, but he looked defeated. Never make my list because of things like that. Because of the fact that he, when a superstar goes down, it's almost like he goes down also. So don't cut you. Go back to what you were saying about Scottie.
I'm gonna get back to the Scottie stuff real quick, but just to touch back on the Bron stuff. Like I said, we give Bron his credit. He's a great player. He plays well. My thing is that dog is not in him. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I feel the narrative always like, oh, if he wins, it's because of him. If he loses, it's because of the other guys. But then when it's Mike, oh, he couldn't do it without Pippen. He couldn't do it without this. And it's like, to me, I feel we keep moving the goalposts for LeBron. And it's like, no. You look at you guys that you mentioned, Mike, Kobe, you know what I mean? Magic, all these other guys. It's like, these guys had that will to win. And I'm not trying to say LeBron doesn't want to win, but it's like, to quit on your team, go out on your shield. You know what I'm saying? If you lose, at least lose going down with the ship. Don't be like, I'm out 5 minutes, and like, that doesn't really build team morale and stuff like that. But back to the Pippen stuff real quick, it's like, I know Pippen came out with a book and he was mad about, some of the stuff that happened at Last Dance, and he was saying that he was the real leader in the locker room and et cetera, et cetera. My thing is like, look, I love Scottie Pippen for what he has done for my era of the Bulls fandom that I had. And I give him a lot of credit for helping and being that guy. But let's not get it twisted. When Pippen first got there, he wasn't putting up no work. And then he had to learn. There's many games where Mike needed him, where he had a migraine. His back was hurting him, his ankle. This man sat out a game because the play wasn't drawn up for him. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan had to play with the flu just for them to win. And then you don't play the majority of the second half in game 6, and Michael Jordan still played and got that. Now, don't get me wrong. Michael Jordan always says, like, you know, you his running mate, and like you was an integral part of the team. But to try to change the narrative because you're mad about certain things, we've seen it with our own eyes. You know what I'm saying? You can't change history on that level. But Malik, I see that you're here. We're just going through like the playoffs and what we feel about the playoffs right now. We kind of mentioned a little bit about LeBron, and I kind of went on a tangent about Scottie Pippen hanging on Mike. But you don't got to say nothing about the Pippen stuff, but just to give you a little, you know, feels of how the playoffs have been going so far in the second round, and then we can move forward.
All right. So as far as the playoffs, yeah, just real quick, I was kind of a little bit shocked that the Suns were able to turn it around, not because they weren't you know, a good team. It's just, you know, the Lakers seemed like they were somewhat turning a corner. Then, you know, AD with his you know, injuries and all that kind of stuff, LeBron not being 100%. But I thought when CP3's shoulder was hurt that they weren't going to be able to bounce back, but they showed grit, poise, and they went after it. So shout out to them. Congrats on that. As far as, you know, the current rounds, you know, I'm not surprised, but I guess the Clippers going to be the Clippers. I mean, not to sleep on Utah, not to disrespect them. Like, obviously they were the number 1 seed, and with Donovan Mitchell back, they're a whole different team, even though they have been without Mike Conley. But the Clippers, I don't know if they need to be, I don't know, like they need to be down again or they're going to get motivated or whatever. But I think they're out of that series. I think the Jazz is going to take that one. I mean, as far as Brooklyn and the Bucks, yeah, I mean, the Brooklyn should be up 3-0, but, you know, some errors were made. We'll just leave it at that. But I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a catalyst for the Bucks to make some grand comeback. So I mean, I see Brooklyn doing what they need to do. I think the Sixers will get past the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks are good, and Trae Young has really come alive in these playoffs, and, you know, made himself really known. But at the same time, you know, with Ben Simmons being locked in on D, and then with Embiid, like, if Embiid is healthy, like nobody could stop that guy. Nobody could deal with him. And as long as he gets some contribution from somebody else, I feel like they have enough, because Atlanta got a lot of players and they got a lot of depth, but I think the Sixers have that catalyst in Embiid and enough to kind of get the job done. And yeah, as far as, you know, Denver, the Suns, I don't see Denver being able to really come back. And was that all the series? I think I missed one. Well, I guess that's my
No, that's it.
Yeah, thoughts on that.
Yeah. So yeah, we was talking about that, and we get into the LeBron stuff. But just to move us along, since we getting pressed for time, you know, baseball is something that we also like to watch. I mean, I'm not as avid baseball fan as Tyrone and Hollister and stuff like that, but the Yankees are my team. But recently, they've been having a discussion about, you know, the whole thing with the pitchers having that kind of like sticky substance. I forgot what it's called, that they use to be able to grip the ball better and do their thing. And they saying it's like a level of cheating. Now, I had a conversation with Lucas before, and maybe in the future, if we start diving deeper into baseball, I might invite him again on a podcast. And we was talking about it. And it's certain, like, unspoken rules in sports and unspoken rules in like baseball where like you flip the bat, that set the pitcher off and he's gonna try to hit you with a pitch the next time they see you. It could be like the next season and they want to hit you with a pitch for flipping the bat or doing certain like showboaty things. And like to me, it kind of rubs the line within like cheating and certain limitations within the game. And it's like, okay, to me, I don't see what the big deal is. If it helps me as a pitcher grip the ball better, so when I'm throwing my pitches like curveballs and sliders and fastball, I don't see what the problem is. You know what I'm saying? I'm up there on this dusty mound, the ball's dusty, you know what I mean? And people getting hit. I mean, it gets grounded. So like, what's the big difference? Now, I can understand if I'm using a cork bat, that's cheating because, not everybody has a cork bat. It's making it different. I can understand that. I can understand when they got Dwight Howard, you got that sticky stuff on your hand, you grabbing rebounds. You know what I'm saying? That's going to cheat within the game. That's not right. I can understand certain levels of where you compromise in the game and the integrity of the game, but I don't see how that is a big deal or issue. Like I said, I'm not really a major follower of baseball to speak on that with like 100% certainty. So I'm gonna go Menelik, Hollister, and Tyrone. Let's get your opinion on that.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, I'm not as well versed in all the specifics of the substance and how that might change the game too much. My understanding is that it is a little more widespread, right? So it's kind of like, it's not like the Astros thing, right? Now, for some comparison, right? Like with the Astros, right? Yeah, they say that some teams do little shenanigans here and there to try to figure out, some team signs of this, that, and the third. But what they did, they went on some other level where that wasn't nowhere near the norm, right? So my understanding, I don't know if there was an example of a player like using some like gorilla glue on it. Not, I mean, that would probably make the pitch not even leave their hands. But something crazy that's different than probably what most people. Well, my understanding is that there's a lot of pitchers that do kind of use a little something and is kind of known, and that if it's something like that where it's more like, some players might throw powder on their hand for a little more grip, or certain people with certain stuff with their sneaker. Like I said, I'm not as well versed. So if it's something more like that, which what I feel like it is, I feel like maybe it's not as big of a deal. It's like just something they want to focus on now because it was brought up again for some reason. It's my understanding that people have been kind of doing it. It's kind of like one of those almost unwritten things where technically is not allowed, I guess, but it's something that is done. But I think it's more on baseball to deal with it if it's something like that where it's more systemic and not individual players or a specific team really trying to cheat on another level to get some real unfair advantage. Kind of like I said with the Astros thing, they took it to some other kind of level, and that was like straight up cheating. Like, whereas there sometimes are things where it's like it's frowned upon, but people kind of do it. Like, somebody might take a little extra seconds at the free throw line and they might not call that, but then, stuff like that. So yeah, that's my little take.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Hollister?
Yeah, so I think it was somebody on the Cubs the other day. He had like some little substance on the brim of his hat. So somebody must have caught it and they poured it out to the umpires and they did a whole thorough inspection. And I believe they told him about the game or they made him change his hat, I think. So I just feel like, and then they asked Gary Cole about something other than his reaction was like, he kind of looked a little suspicious, but I think before these players go out on the mound, like they should have somebody in particular do like a thorough inspection, like to make sure they don't have no nothing sticky, like how that guy on the Yankees had the thing on his neck. It's like they could hide it anywhere they put in their pockets, but it's just like do an inspection before to make sure they don't have nothing. It's like Tom said the other day too when we was all together, like there's always some kind of form of cheating somewhere in baseball, but it's like it's going to kind of be hard to prevent it all entirely because they could come up with something else. Well, who knows? But just do an inspection before the game starts or before they go out on the mound, and to keep everything fair. And I know with the whole Astros thing, they want to really lock down on everything. They try to make the game clean, but just do an inspection on these pitches and to see what happens next with that. But I'll let Tyrone dwell on it more since he's more the expert.
In the words of the late great Eddie Guerrero, if you're not treating, you're not trying. They all do it.
That's what Lucas said too. Go ahead.
Whether it's pine tar, whether it's sticky glue, spit, like razors, they do a lot of things with these baseballs, man. These pitchers, they've been doing things like there's pitchers in the Hall of Fame that cheated their whole career legally. I'll call it legally cheating. We're not talking about like steroids or anything, but when you brought something up, Mike, with the cork bat and everything, that's the exact same thing. That's the exact equivalent to what the pitchers are doing with the ball, the sticky substance. It's enhancing their abilities. The sticking the ball is more to help them with a grip. If they have a better grip, they can control the pitch and make the pitch move a lot more, through the air than normally without cutting, without substances. There's also cutting the ball. Sometimes they cut a little bit of the ball, it goes through the air, it moves a little, the movement, it's a different movement. It could, sometimes a little tricky movements. So a lot of reasons why it's frowned upon it's for that reason right there. It fools hitters, it makes pitchers who aren't that great look a little more special than what they are, as well as having a cork bat or taking PEDs. The average Joe Schmo may hit 40, 50 home runs because of that. So it's something that never was popular with the game, and people get called out on. Now, my brother brought up something with the neck. That was Michael Pineda a few years back. He had pine tar on his neck. They was playing the Red Sox, and one of the Red Sox managers saw that. Now, it's on camera. Now, he's a fool because his neck is out. So why would you have pine tar on your neck? Now, he was dark-skinned, so I don't know if he thought that because he was dark-skinned that it wasn't going to show, but it shows clear as day on the camera. And the umpire went up and touched it, and he was rubbing his fingers and was like, yeah, this is pine tar. You can read his lips. He's like, yeah, this is pine tar. And I remember watching that game because, I never miss like the Yankee Red Sox. I'm a Red Sox fan, so I don't miss those games. And I remember that. And, I've seen a lot of things. If you ever go Google back, there's a picture, Joe Negro. He's the brother of Phil Negro, Hall of Famer. There was an incident where the umpires realized he was cutting the baseball. So they were looking around for things, and Negro emptied his pockets out, and at the same time, with the same momentum, flung he had like a little, I don't know if it was like a knife or a nail file, and he flung it like, how you pull your hands out of your pockets, and you just in the same momentum fling. He did something like that, but he did it so bad that the umpire saw it. Like it's a very viral video, and the umpire saw it, and then he tried to act like, oh snap, how did that fall out? It's pretty funny. So pitchers use a lot of things, and so do hitters. I brought it up to you guys when we was out. I was telling you about how guys like to steal signs. The Red Sox had a situation where they were alleged for stealing signs, but their situation is like what I was like. I know a lot of people probably say, oh, I'm being Red Sox biased, but their complaint was literally what every team always do. They look at video, they look through a sign. Every team does it. They check a sign. Oh, this is what happened. This is when they do this sign, this is what that's for. But the issue manager was on the Houston Astros. So it made the Red Sox look worse than a lot of other teams because they hired, it was a big cheating scandal in 2017 where these guys blatantly cheated. Like they cheated to win the championship. They beat the Red Sox in the first round. They beat the Yankees in the championship series, and then they beat the Dodgers in the World Series. All three of those teams were cheated. Yes, the Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers were cheated. So that's a whole nother cheating thing. That's why I didn't compare the Red Sox and Astros thing. Me and Mike, we always bring up the Red Sox and the Astros thing, but I always told them there's a big difference. There's a difference between looking at signs on video and using trash cans and buzzers That is ridiculous. That's a big difference. But yeah, cheating goes on in base. Every major league team tries to find an edge. It's I'm trying to remember who brought it up. I saw it on a video, and he made a good point. He was like, every sport, every franchise cheats. He said, think about it. We send scouters to do scouting reports. They go watch other teams and know what they do. That's cheating. That's a form of cheating. If you really sit back and think about it, you're checking out a team. Oh, his weakness is this. If he goes this way, like in basketball, if he goes left all the time. He never goes right. Force him right. It's a form of cheating, but in more of a just a scouting way. It's not like you're enhancing like the baseball or the basketball or anything. So every sport has cheating in it. Every sport has cheating in it. Some of it is, I like to call it legal. It's legal cheating. And then there's the ones like Houston Astros where and the PED users.
Yeah, that's
so
OD cheating.
I'm one of those baseball fans that listen, if you don't get caught, go for it, man. Whether it's against my team or whether it's on my team, I'm not gonna lie about it. Like every NBA, you don't want to talk about the Yankees. You don't want to talk about the Yankees because I can tell you about one of your championship teams. I can tell you about a couple of your championship teams.
No, we got much time. We got much time left.
I bet you don't. But what I was saying is every team does it. Every team does it. It's nothing. It's never going to change either. They'll just find new ways to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm glad you brought up that point because I didn't think of it like that with the cork bat and the pitching being the same. Because I'm just thinking like, it's still a skill set of you throwing the ball, whereas a bat and an object is like me hitting the ball with a metal pipe as opposed to me, doing something different. So it doesn't make sense. So I get what you're saying, and I do agree. Somebody made this analogy the other day, and it was like, how the speed limit, for instance, in the residential is like 25 to 30, but sometimes we do like 35 or 40. Now we are illegally driving, but we're doing things, going the flow of traffic, doing things within the confines of that. So I look at it from like that perspective. Like in basketball, you got guys who might like grab your shorts when you're going for a rebound, or you know what I mean? They stay in the paint a little bit longer than 3 seconds. So I get what you're saying. It's like little things like that. But when you start doing with astro level cheating, where you into technology and your whole schema now is just to cheat. There's no way of like, I might do this little thing here and there. They say, you know what? We want to focus on this straight up cheating and find a way to cheat to win, as opposed to trying to be skilled and win and using the things here and there. But I do like that topic, and I want to maybe touch on that the next time we meet again. Is like maybe talk about cheating in sports and like how people do it, how it affects the integrity of sports, and is it really a big deal? But since we're running out of time, I want to thank you guys again for joining us. I want to thank Menelik, Hollister, Tyrone for being here with me this evening. Please, guys, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel grow. We really do appreciate the support. Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to my other brother Mustafa who didn't make it this time. But I think when we start doing the Olympics, he's going to be a part of that because he's really knowledgeable in that area and everything like that. But yes, stay blessed. You know what I mean? Care for each other. Shout out to you guys. Like, comment, share, and subscribe again to the channel. Enjoy your day and take care.